Phoenix is rising, Coach T here. You know, there were things that I did not know as a young spiritualist growing up because I raised myself. I came from a narcissistic cluster B home where if they couldn't use me, trigger warning, if they couldn't use me sexually, or throw empty something out into me, their problems, their frustrations, their anger, their disappointments. If they didn't, that's where my destiny swapping started. Where people, my own family members, were trying to swap destinies. And when people say swap destinies, nobody can take where you're actually supposed to go. They may prolong you and you start over again in another timeline, realm, or dimension. I'm not really clear on that. If those of you who have listened to my podcast on YouTube, you've heard me say at the very beginning of when I started that, I may not see the rewards of the wicked, nor may I see the rewards of my hard work. And that saddens me. But sometimes that's the way that it is, depending on how hard your enemy is trying to make sure. Because they are driven by their ego. They don't want anybody else to know that you defeated them and you were only one person. I remember watching Malcolm X, Spike Lee's Malcolm X, and in that film there's a line where they, after all their people were in jail and the Muslims came in a straight line, undefeated, undeterred, stoic-faced. And all Malcolm X or Denzel Washington's character had to do was to raise a finger and point it in the direction that he wanted them to go. White man said, that is too much for an N-word, too much power for an N-word to have. And I say of myself that I have had my enemies say that that is too much power for a female dog N-word to have. And I had run from it because of that. I thought that if I hid my gifts, they would stop bullying me. They would stop beating me up because I didn't know the nature of narcissism. I had no idea what narcissism was. I had no idea what a cluster B personality was. I had none. So my spiritual mom at the time kept trying to tell me, we don't wrestle against flesh and blood, but principles and principalities. And she kept telling me this and kept telling me this, but I thought because of what I felt, as soon as I felt scared, because I'm still that little girl, I had not raised her completely up yet, to let her know that you could trust me now in the midst of my storm, in the midst of people still to this day trying to kill me, in the midst of them still trying to make me homeless once again, in the midst of them attacking my body so that I have health issues that I wouldn't normally have because I don't live that lifestyle. There's a piece about me. And what I learned, what I realized, what I finally learned when my spiritual mother said, we don't wrestle against flesh and blood, but principles and principalities. She kept reading that verse from the Bible over and over again to me. And I was like, I just want it to go away. I don't care what you're talking about. I want these people gone. Here's what I understood. I work with two cluster B personalities. They're yin and yang, respectively. One is a respectable on the outside, appears to be a respectable mother, housewife, right? She gloats, though you could see it in her demeanor and in her eyes because I know what to look for, because I've had 15 years of experience. Okay, so, and I thought, oh boy, here we go again. And instead, because she was getting into my energy, so which meant I was waking up after she was in dreams, and I was like, I know myself, I don't do that. The only time I will allow somebody in my space like that, especially in the dream realm, is if we are a couple of some sort. But we were not. And I had just started. So, and so the third party put me in a third party thing. While complaining about that other person, I don't like to gossip, I don't like to do this. But you obviously are in love with this person because they're doing it and you keep showing up for it. And not only are you showing up for it, you're saying one thing to me and trying to sell, oh, I'm just going to support you. And then on the other hand, you're ragging me and making fun of me like a little school mean girl, grade school mean girl. And I don't have time for it. So I had every right. We always have a right to clear our spiritual space, to clear our subconscious, conscious, and unconscious minds of any type of demonic influence. No matter how that person, that thing within that person, how it reveals itself, right? Or how it looks on the outside appearance. If you don't want to respect me and talk to me on this realm, in this plane, that's what I had, is all these witches, these female witches, Satanists, astral terrorists, succubuses that were, doing lust spells and conjuring. I would see them in the spirit realm and they would be some type of serpent that was trying to wrap around me and literally take my breath away, literally take the finances that I had gained. This was after I got off the street and while I was on the street. Nobody cared what I was going through. Nobody cared that I woke up and, after crying myself through the night, that I didn't even know I was crying myself through the night. So what I learned with this person, because I got exhausted, I said, God, there's got to be another way. And so I had to swallow my pride. What I wasn't willing to do in my younger years, I became willing to do now in my wiser years, because I realized she's going to be what they're going to be. She's going to do what she's going to do. She's going to talk about me. She's going to talk about this beautiful, fat, bald woman, black woman. She's going to try and make it so she seems like, she understands the civil rights and all this other kind of stuff. She's going to make it so that she seems as if, she's not co-signing the behavior of a aggressive person who likes to slander people, and like she's, hey, I don't want to, but so I don't care, because it's nothing to talk to you. You already know she got smacked. She didn't like getting smacked. She was going to go another way. She was literally, she lost herself. That mask was coming off. And she, you can, so another thing that I learned too, when her mask started coming off, and I backtracked because I knew she didn't want to get smacked anymore, in the spiritual realm. I'm not going to play with you. Do not come into my spiritual realm. So now she has to respect me, or you're going to get smacked again. So I learned I am not co-signing any type of behavior. I am not fighting her though, or it, or the system, because this job is temporary until whatever blessings are supposed to come my way can actually come, and then I can go to something else and do actually what I was meant to do, what I desired to do, and live a comfortable life, So it took a lot, so I'm not fighting the human body. I went into the spiritual. I let them know, you do this again. But I still have this other librarian who is very stubborn, and she thinks that she's a big badass, and she always tries to project towards me, and it's really weird. But one thing I find is, because the one doesn't want to lose a source and supply, they will tell the other to knock it off, which is good. But they're still bosom buddies. They're looking at each other with love in their eyes and all of this. And I'm like, okay. And all I got to do is every once in a while make an appearance, say something positive to stroke that ego a little bit, and move on about my business. Now, number one, that would be something that I would not do, because I was like, I'm not giving you anything, but I'm not giving them anything. That's what I didn't realize. I'm creating a passage so that I don't have to find another job. Blessings are in your ashes, phoenixes.